Off-season has been a very busy one, as it always is, and while it is not yet concluded, we are at a reasonable time to pause. Swagoo, to this point, who's been your biggest winner?
Man, the Arizona Cardinals and DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, you add him to Larry Fitzgerald already being there. Christian Kirk is there. Kenyon Drake in the backfield. Kyler Murray obviously coming off a really good rookie season. Now you give this up-tempo air raid offense a dominant receiver. It's crazy.
They could be really good. Dan, who's your winner?
Green, I'm going to say the Cleveland Browns. The hiring of Kevin Stefanski and then general manager Andrew Berry were really two good moves, well-respected people, and then obviously the three additions to their football team in Conklin at offensive line and Austin Hooper at tight end, and then Case Keenum was a well-respected backup. I also think their starting quarterback has been very quiet this offseason. Tells me he's focused on his job.
I like it. Swagoo, how about your biggest loser?
Well, ideally it would be the Houston Texans, but I'm going to go with the Ravens losing Michael Brockers. I thought this was a great signing for the Baltimore Ravens, one of those fringe Super Bowl teams for all intents and purposes, adding what Michael Brockers was able to bring to the Rams during their run. In the 3-4, they mix it in hybrid. I thought he would have been great for Wink Martindale, but the fact that they lost it, I think that's a huge loss.
And how about you, Danny? Who's your biggest loser?
Yeah, Greeny, I think it's the Dallas Cowboys. First of all, you lose three of your better players in Robert Quinn, Jones, and then Travis Frederick retiring. And then the second thing is this. We know that they overpaid for Amari Cooper because they let him hit free agency. And now from everything that we're hearing, they're going to overpay for Dak Prescott as well. That's a tough offseason for that organization.
Yeah, a team that was 8-8 in a bad division and didn't make the playoffs last year. Meanwhile, we're bringing back some of the greatest Monday Night Football games. Tonight we'll start with that record-breaking game from 2 seasons ago, Mahomes against Goff, the Chiefs and the Rams. If you don't remember it, I'll just tell you this. There were a lot of points scored. You'll see it tonight, 8 Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app. I also wanted to get the guys' reaction to this. Even with the recent deal between baseball and its Players Association, a lot of questions about when and how they will start their season and conclude it. Both sides say they're open to many possibilities to try and get in as many games as possible. Earlier this morning, Mark Teixeira had this idea.
Extra inning games get really boring. They can get really long. They can mess up a pitching staff for weeks. And so forget about just the doubleheaders. I think the regular season, you should have games end after 10 innings. And Major League Baseball can really think about this in the next season and beyond to help the rosters, make sure you're not burning too many pitchers, and also keep the game moving.
That was Mark Teixeira live earlier this morning here on Get Up. He sent that to me in a note over the weekend. Now, I have been saying for years, going back to my days on Mike and Mike, that they should have, whether it's 10 innings or 12 innings, they should end a baseball game and not be terrified of the notion of it ending in a tie. Dan Orlovsky, your thoughts?
Yuck. Get the ties out of here, Greeny and Teixeira. Teixeira, no wonder you live in Greenwich. The tie, to play a game and to end it in a tie, we can't think of a better option than ending in a tie. I'd rather not play than end games in ties, Greeny. Get them out of here. Think of something better than that.
Swagoo?
Gee, I love the idea. They play 1 million games a season in baseball. And the thing about these guys, obviously using the construction of your pitchers, trying to keep those guys healthy and fresh for next game. You play again in less than 24 hours, usually in Major League Baseball. This is the one sport where I would say you need to think about at some point the game needs to be over or you won't have any guys to throw the damn baseball the next day.
Yes, they play games so long sometimes the next one could start in 15 minutes. Yeah. So Orlovsky, let's take your idea to its logical conclusion while you're busy geographically shaming Mark Teixeira for no obvious reason. Let me ask you this. What would you like? Would you want throw together like a home run derby at the end of 10 innings or something like that? Like what are we doing to decide a game if it's still tied?
Yeah, something like that, where you get maybe a certain amount of pitches or a certain amount of swings, and whoever racks up the most bases or something. But like, you don't have to play full innings. Obviously, soccer does their penalty kicks, but you should not end the game on a tie. Ending a baseball game could be easy. I mean, figure out, hey, you pick one batter and you pick one batter, the first one to make contact on the least amount of pitches or something like that. You can only throw fastballs. I don't know. Where's Kirkjian when you need him? But you're not ending the game on a tie. That is weak and corny.
I hate it. I hate all of this contrived nonsense. I don't like the way college football does its overtime. I play the game, and if it ends in a tie, I don't know. They ended games in college football for 100 years in ties, and to the best of my knowledge, nothing terrible ever happened as a result of it. Swagoo, final word.
My final word is, Dan, get the hell out of here until you pitch 99 times and then you got to pitch again in 30 minutes 99 more times. You tell these dudes not to end the game in a tie. And they make quadruple the money we make. Give these dudes a break.
Man, you've gotten soft. You've gotten soft in retirement. You've gotten soft.
All right, wait. We have Stephen A. Smith coming up here, so I'll take a brief pause, and then I'll mention that after we wrap up Get Up, it's time for First Take. We saw Cam Newton working out this weekend as he looks for a new team. Which team needs him, and will he be a starter week one? Stephen A. and Max will talk about that and more. It's First Take following us here on ESPN. We'll finally find out. Meanwhile, it seems worth reminding you that while there is no way to evaluate Brady without Bill, team that had made the playoffs 5 out of 6 years. He coached them 5 seasons. He had losing records in 4. By the way, Nick Saban was his defensive coordinator for those 5 years. And yes, the ending was a terrible situation with the team planning to relocate to Baltimore. You can factor that in however you like. In New England, Belichick was 5-13 with Drew Bledsoe, the number 1 overall draft pick, at quarterback. Then Brady took over. In his first start, he beat Peyton Manning and the Colts by 31 points as a double-digit underdog. He then went 13-3 the rest of the way and won the Super Bowl. He went on to average 28 points a game as a starter over his Patriot career. That is the most of any quarterback ever. In games started by anyone else, Belichick's teams have averaged 19. Brady won 6 playoff games in which his team allowed 28 or more points. No other quarterback has ever won more than 2. And finally, he made himself a salary cap bargain. In none of his championship seasons was Brady a top 10 cap hit in the league. So what does all of that actually mean? To me, it certainly doesn't take anything away from Belichick as a coach. I believe he's the greatest in the history of American team sports. But the facts are the facts. And if he is ever going to accomplish anything without Tom Brady, he's going to have to start doing it now. That is what I think. And with his show getting set to start in just a few minutes, we are 9 minutes away from First Take. Let us bring in the one, the only, Stephen A. Smith for reaction. Steve, I'll give you the floor. What do you think?
Well, I think you're wrong, first of all. Secondly, I thought you was waffling a little bit back there, because when you end your soliloquy by pointing out how great Bill Belichick is, and he's deserves a boatload of credit. Obviously, he's the GOAT. All of that is true. But the flip side to it is that when you look at football, there are 3 phases. There's offense, there's defense, and there's special teams. I've never seen Tom Brady catch an interception. I've never seen him sack a quarterback. I've never check and just sit up there and say, excuse me, you know what, you only did this because of Tom Brady. Certainly it helped, but he also helped Tom Brady. Let's remember that. And over the weekend, Greeny, I was sitting at home, and I think it was on HBO. I was watching Belichick Saban, The Art of Coaching. I mean, I got to tell you something, man. If you want to be motivated, if you want to be educated, if you want to really go into the minds of a coach and really, really learn, it's must-see TV, man, to listen to these two guys talk about all the nuances that come with winning. I just think that when you watch something like that, as great of an appreciation as I have for Tom Brady and as much credit as I want to give him, I can't ignore the greatness of Bill Belichick because I understand more than ever before what elevated levels of responsibility comes with being the head coach as opposed to just the quarterback.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I would throw back that in his entire head coaching career without Tom Brady, Bill Belichick has had generally no success at all. So he may be a great motivator, and he is. He may be a great strategist, and he is. And obviously there are defense and special teams and everything else. But the reality is the reality. He won with Brady, and he's never won without him.
Well, let me tell you something right now. You're living evidence that you know what, that you're wrong. And let me tell you why. Okay. Greenie, I happen to think that you're not just good at what you do, you're absolutely outstanding. But I think the thing that's been outstanding about you is that as great as you were 20 years ago, you were even better 10 years ago, you were better than that 5 years ago, and you're even better now. And so when you look at Bill Belichick and you judge him on what